History, arguably the single most important cultural property. It is the great unifier of all societies, from classical to contemporary. It is happening all around us, every second, every minute, every hour of every day. A conspiracy of coincidence. It creates the contextual understanding of events that affects our lives. If we are vigilant enough, we can witness it happening. If we are keen enough, we can make it happen. By understanding it, we can alter the reality of the present or change the trajectory of the future. For without history, we are without purpose. We are without identity. Welcome to the gray area, where we examine history in hindsight. February 4th, 1783, Britain declared a formal cessation of hostilities with its former colonies, the United States of America. 1789, electors unanimously chose George Washington to be the first president of the United States. 1824, J.W. Goodrich introduced rubber galoshes to the public. 1847, in Maryland, the first U.S. Telegraph Company was established. 1861, delegates from 6 southern states met in Montgomery, Alabama, to form the Confederate States of America. 1865, the Hawaiian Board of Education was formed. 1904, the Russo-Japanese War began after Japan laid siege to Port Arthur. 1913, Louis Pearlman received a patent for his demountable tire carrying rims. 1936, radium E became the first radioactive substance to be produced synthetically. 1941, the United Service Organizations, otherwise known as the USO, was created. 1945, during World War II, U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and Soviet leader Joseph Stalin began a conference at Yalta to outline plans for Germany's defeat. 1948, Ceylon gained independence within the British Commonwealth. The country would later become known as Sri Lanka. 1952, Jackie Robinson was named Director of Communications for NBC. He was the first black executive of a major radio TV network. 1957, Smith Corona Manufacturing Incorporated of New York began selling portable electric typewriters. The first machine was a behemoth weighing 19 pounds. 1964, the Administrator of General Services announced that the 24th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution had been ratified. The amendment banned poll tax. 1968, the world's largest hovercraft was launched at Cowes Isle of Wight. 1974, Patricia Patty Hearst was kidnapped in Berkeley, California. The Symbionese Liberation Army are the ones who captured her. 1985, U.S. President Ronald Reagan's defense budget called for a tripling of the expenditure on the Star Wars research program, a program that was never actually instituted and never became a reality. 1993, Russian scientists unfurled a giant mirror in orbit and flashed a beam of sunlight across Europe during the night. Observers saw it only as a momentary flash. 1997, President Milosevic of Serbia apparently surrenders to the will of his people, ordering his government to recognize opposition and its victories in local elections held in November of the previous year, 1999. Amadou Diallo, an unarmed West African immigrant, was shot and killed in front of his Bronx home by 4 plainclothes New York City police officers. The officers had been conducting a nighttime search for a supposed rape suspect. 2003. Yugoslavia was formally dissolved by lawmakers. The country was replaced with a loose union of its remaining 2 republics, Serbia and Montenegro. 2004. The social networking website known as Facebook.com was launched. But rewinding all the way back to 1794, Jean-Baptiste Bellemare, who represented Saint-Domingue in the French National Convention in Paris in 1794, is widely credited with persuading that body to abolish slavery in France and its overseas colonies. Bellemare, as a boy, was kidnapped by slave catchers on the island of Gorée near Dakar, Senegal, and shipped off to French Caribbean colony of Saint-Domingue, now known as the Republic of Haiti. He purchased his freedom from his owner, and he enlisted in the military and served in a contingent of black and mulatto troops called the Volunteer Chasseurs that was sent to fight against the British in Georgia during the American Revolutionary War. Returning to Saint-Domingue, Bellemare became a well-to-do planter with a penchant for politics. News from France in 1789 of the storming of the Bastille set in motion revolution in Saint-Domingue and pitted whites, who were known as the Grands Blancs and Petits Blancs, against the black slaves and mulatto freedmen led by Toussaint Louverture, demanding liberty and equality, when in 1793 the Jacobin ledger Félicité Sonthonax was dispatched to administer the colony. Bellemare, now a middle-aged officer, joined him in crushing a rebellion of the whites who opposed Louverture. As a reward for his loyalty, Bellemare was one of 3 men to be elected to represent the colony at the Convention Nationale in Paris. As reported in Le Moniteur Officiel on February 4, 1794, after having their credentials authenticated, the 3 delegates from Saint-Domingue were welcomed into the hall of the convention with exuberant applause, as customary in France, kisses on both cheeks. The next morning, Bellemare further secured his place in history when he delivered to the convention a lengthy, emotionally charged speech which denounced the inhumanity of slavery and demanded its abolition. Carried away by the moment, a white delegate rose to voice his shame and rebuked the nation for the horrors it allowed in the colonies. Then, by acclamation, the convention voted to end slavery. Bellemare, the man of the hour, returned to the rostrum to receive embraces and unrestrained congratulations. Bellemare extended his stay in France, survived the Reign of Terror, and served on the Council of Ancients and the Council of 500 before returning home to Haiti in 1797. He posed for a portrait by Anne-Louise Giraudet de Roussy-Troissan. This portrait is still on display in the chapel of the Palace of Versailles, has best preserved the memory of the former slave and abolition leader. By 1802, when Napoleon Bonaparte sent an army to Saint-Domingue to reestablish slavery and defeat the blacks led by Toussaint Louverture, Bellemare, now a constable, was eventually persuaded to oppose the brutal tactics of the French because of that opposition. He was forced to return to France, but this time, instead of greeting him, he was arrested and imprisoned for at least 2 years at the notorious Belle-Île prison. After the betrayal and capture of Toussaint Louverture and the death of Belle Mars, who died in Belle-Île prison, Jean-Jacques Dessalines becomes the leader of the revolution. He defeated the French army at the Battle of Vertières in 1803, declaring Haiti an independent nation in 1804. Dessalines was chosen by a council of generals to assume the office of Governor General, who ordered the 1804 Haiti massacre of French settlers in Haiti, which included black and mulatto French sympathizers, resulting in the deaths of approximately 5,000 people, but declared that all other whites, specifically Poland, who are non-sympathetic to France, may remain, but must pledge fealty to the free and independent Republic of Haiti. And as a result, not only Dessalines or Louverture, but the man who created the political identity of Haiti, branded their mark on history. You see, history, much like time, waits for no man. It is ultimately up to us to decide whether we choose to make it or be the reason we repeat it. However, no matter what side of it that you stand on, you can only learn from it by looking at history in hindsight.